Morning, kids. Dad here. It is Monday morning at 9:03 a.m. on March 2nd. Monday morning, March 2nd. Welcome to March. It is the start of a new week and the start of a new month. It's a good day. Dad's heart meter's like 80% full. So, I think what I want to talk about today is acceptance and God's plan. The theme of the day is going to be acceptance and God's plan. And the reason I want to talk about this is yesterday, as I don't know if I posted it for you guys online or if it's just tucked away in my archive, but I had a really, really good weekend. One about service to others and some of the rewards that come with that. Kind of some of those spiritual, fill your cup of heart fulfilling rewards that come with that. So, and I did that one late last night. It was like 9 p.m. Well, at 10 p.m., an hour later, I joined a meeting. It was a kind of a support group meeting, and a good friend of mine named Jason was leading. And Jason's like this. He's like 6'7", shaved head. He was a college football lineman. He almost looks like a big burly biker guy, with the beard and the shaved head and all that. And but he came to visit me in October. We went to a worship concert together, hung out at the mall for a bit. And he's a really good friend. And he's somebody who used to drink and do drugs, and he's found sobriety and gotten a closer relationship with a higher power, with God. He's a really good friend, and he was doing kind of a read and lead last night. So it was a book study. So he got to kind of pick the topic, and he started off with a reading. And he read from this book that we read together, and it was page 417 about acceptance. And this book claims that acceptance is the answer to all our problems. And acceptance doesn't mean liking it. Acceptance means acknowledging it, recognizing that this is the way things are, and ceasing to fight and resist the reality of the situation. And then the reading went on to talk about how there's no mistakes in God's plan. There's no accidents. And those are two tough things for me to reconcile. So I look at that, for example, and I think about when I was in the military, about, 5 to 8 years before you guys were born. And I think about some friends that I lost. And I think about how is it part of God's plan? How is it not an accident that a young 20-year-old kid gets blown up in Iraq and he's no longer with us? How is that part of God's plan? How is that not a mistake? How is that not an accident? And then how does God have this sick sense of humor to have me and some of the kid's other friends being the one to fold a flag for the kid 10 days later, and handing that flag to his wife in front of his young son? How is that part of God's plan? How the hell is that part of God's plan? How is it part of God's plan that I'm not able to give you guys a hug every day? How is it part of God's plan that 3 amazing kids can't have their dad at their wrestling tournament to sit in the stands and cheer for them? How the hell is that part of God's plan? How is that not a mistake? Because I spent a couple of years after having to leave the family home angry, deeply hurt, upset, crying, frustrated with that. And I spent a year or two putting my hand on a hot stove hoping the world would burn. Angry at the world. Angry at some people in it. And I'm grateful that I came to recognize when you put your hand on a hot stove expecting somebody else to burn, you're only hurting yourself. So I had to accept the reality of the situation. And the reality was that I was not allowed to see you guys. I'm still not, to this day, able to come to your wrestling tournaments as much as I'd love to. But I had to accept that as reality. But that was important, because once I accepted that situation as the way things were, didn't matter if I thought they were fair, didn't matter if I thought they were right and just, but they were what they were, was the reality of the situation. So once I accepted that, then I could start working on, okay, so what can I do about it? What's in my control? Well, one thing in my control was to get serious about being the healthiest, best version of me possible. That included things like going to these support group meetings I went to last night, doing this book study about acceptance. But then that leaves us with, in my brain anyways, how is this part of God's plan? How is it possibly part of God's plan and not an accident that 3 amazing kids like you can't have their dad cheering for them at their wrestling match? Can't call their dad to say, hey, Dad, I had a really cool day. I want to tell you about it. To hear their dad call them and before bed and say, hey, Guy, hey, Finny, hey, Fia, hey, Kev, just checking in, want to let you know I love you. How is that part of God's plan? But I came to learn in the past year and a half that God is infinitely wiser than me. I have my one set of eyes, my one perspective in this one finite moment in time of today. That's the extent of my knowledge. God has 7-8 billion children on this planet, and he's seeing from all 7-8 billion perspectives. And he's seeing not just right now, today, this moment. He's seeing into the future, and he can see all of the past. Across that time, he's got billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of children. So why does God let a friend of mine die in 2025? Another one in 2005. Another one in 2006. Another one in 2007. Why does God let that happen? Well, maybe God could see beyond that moment. And beyond that wife and the children those guys left behind. They had a devastating loss. But out of that deep pain that I carried with me for almost 20 years, maybe there's some purpose to it. Maybe there's some purpose that can be found in that pain. And I can tell you kids, the past 3 years now, between being a chaplain for the American Legion, chaplain for disabled American veterans, my work with Project Got Your Back, my work with Warriors Next Adventure, my work with Eagle Group, my work with Bravo Zulu House, I've been able to turn my pain into some purpose. And by that specifically, I've been able to help. I'm not sure the number. It's definitely more than 100 and less than 1,000. Probably a couple hundred. Veterans, guys in pain, that I've been able to help because of my experience, because I went through that same hell, and I can relate to them. They can relate to me. I've been able to have countless conversations with guys in that painful place and listen to them cry, listen to them talk about how they just want to end it all. They don't want to be a part of this world anymore. I've been able to share with them a little bit of my formula that worked for me. How do I get through some of that pain, that immense loss, those feelings of guilt, of agony? Being able to sit and share that with other guys, talk to other guys about that, whether it's while we're kayaking together at a lake in Victoria, whether it's a phone call, whether it's on a jiu-jitsu mat, I've been able to help those guys understand and process some of their pain and start to turn it into a little bit of purpose. I don't know if that's why God took those guys before you kids were born, but maybe that was part of his plan. Maybe by taking somebody's wife and father in a useless war, he was able to help out dozens of other kids, dozens of other of his children. And I've been able to maybe help be a part of that. With you kids, why would God do this to you guys? Why would God do this to me? Why would God separate father and 3 amazing kids like he has for the last couple of years here? Well, I don't know the answer, but I do believe entirely that a day will come when one of you 3 are struggling with something that is more difficult and bigger than anything you've experienced in your life to date. Whether it's 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now, one of you 3 are going to struggle with the loss of a close friend. Or you're going to struggle with some sort of addiction, substance use. You're going to have some kind of trauma. And it's going to tear you down to your foundation and rattle you to your core. And when that time comes, you'll have a dad who can put out his hand and say, Finney, I've been through that hell. Take my hand, buddy. I'll help you walk through it together. I believe that. So it was really, really magical last night that my friend Jason talking about acceptance and how God doesn't make mistakes in his plan, and how to reconcile that with some of these things that happen in life that just they're not fair. They're not fair in the moment. But how do you process that and turn that pain into purpose and recognize that God's seeing a far bigger picture than any one of us? And then finding out what's my role in that. How can I be a helpful part of that? How can I fit into that in a way that I can move forward being there for the ones I love in the best way possible? This is the best version of me. And I'm very grateful that I found people like my friend Jason, and that I've got my butt kicked so hard by this world that I finally realized I need to take my hand off this hot stove, because I'm not burning anybody else by doing it but myself. And I'm grateful and blessed to be able to say in full faith and confidence that when that day comes, that you guys want to burn down the world because it's a loss of somebody you love. It's something unfair and unjust that happens, and you can't understand how God could let something like that happen. I will be here. I'll have paid my dues. I'll walk through hell and back, through the fires that hopefully you'll never have to go through anything similar. But I'll be able to at least hold your hand through it and walk that path with you, and hopefully make your journey a little easier. Not have to spend years, up to 20 years for me, with your hand on that stove. I love you kids so much. Good to see you guys in 2 days. We'll talk soon.